The real estate office smells like fresh coffee and printer toner. Generic landscape photos hang on beige walls. A clock ticks somewhere behind me. Everything feels surreal, like I'm watching myself from outside my body. So, Mr. Carter, if you'll just sign here, and initial here. Rebecca, the real estate agent, slides papers across the glossy table. Her nails are painted coral. Her smile is professional, warm. She has no idea what this moment means to me. My phone vibrates on the table. The screen lights up. Michelle. Hey, I've been thinking about us. Can we talk? Michelle, my ex-wife, the woman who told me I'd never amount to anything. I stare at the message for 3 seconds. Then another one appears. Michelle. I miss what we had. Rebecca clears her throat gently. Everything okay? I look up at her, then back down at the contract. The house. My house. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a backyard with an oak tree. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Earned with my own hands, my own sweat, my own refusal to stay broken. I smile, not a bitter smile, not a vengeful one, just satisfied. Everything's perfect, I say. I pick up the pen, turn my phone face down, and sign my name on the dotted line. Daniel Carter, homeowner. The phone vibrates again. I don't look at it. Congratulations, Rebecca says, extending her hand. Welcome home? Thank you, I say, and I mean it. For everything, for all of it. For every moment that led me here. Funny how life works. Before we continue, I want to say something. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment with your city or country. I love knowing where you all are joining from. And if you really want to support this channel, hit the hype button. It makes a massive difference. All right, let's get into how I got here. Chapter 1. The Years of Being Not Enough. I married Michelle when I was 24. She was 23, beautiful, ambitious, and full of dreams about the life we'd build together. Or at least, the life she expected me to build for her. At first, things were good, or I thought they were. Looking back now, I'm not sure if we were ever really happy, or if I was just too naive to see the cracks forming beneath our feet. I worked at a sporting goods store, managing inventory. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. $40,000 a year, benefits, room for advancement. I thought I was doing okay. I thought we were doing okay. Michelle thought differently. Sarah's husband just got promoted to regional manager, she said one evening. We were in our apartment, a small 2-bedroom we could barely afford, split rent with neighbors so thin-walled we could hear their arguments, their TV shows, their lives bleeding into ours. She was scrolling through Facebook on her phone, that endless scroll of other people's highlight reels. I was making dinner, spaghetti, again. The 3rd time that week because pasta was cheap and filling. That's great for them, I said, stirring the sauce I'd made from a jar. The cheap kind, store brand, nothing fancy. He's 26, Daniel. 26 and already making 6 figures. 6 figures. She emphasized each syllable like she was explaining something to a child. Different industry, different company structure. Not everyone moves at the same pace. Everyone's timeline is different ambition. She looked up at me then, and I saw something in her eyes I'd been seeing more and more lately. Disappointment. Not the gentle kind that fades with reassurance, but the permanent kind that settles in like rot in wood. Why can't you be more ambitious? Why are you content just existing, just coasting, just accepting mediocrity? I'm not just existing. I'm working. I'm trying to... You've been at the same store for 3 years, Daniel. Same position, same salary, same boring conversations about inventory management and seasonal sales and whether we need to restock the basketball hoops. She set her phone down with more force than necessary, the sound sharp in our small kitchen. When are you going to want more? When are you going to push for more? I do want more. I'm looking at the assistant manager position. Assistant manager. She laughed, but there was no humor in it, just sharp edges that cut. That's your big ambition? Assistant manager at a sporting goods store? That's the dream? That's what I'm supposed to be proud of? The words stung, but I swallowed them down like bitter medicine, like I'd been swallowing them for months. It's a step up. Better pay, more responsibility, it's progress, it's still retail, Daniel. It's still nothing. It's still me having to explain to my friends that my husband sells sneakers for a living, that he can't afford to take me anywhere nice, that we live in this dump because it's all we can afford. Nothing. That word became her favorite over the next few years. Each time she used it, it carved out a little more of who I was. Like erosion, like water on stone, slow but relentless. The apartment wasn't even that bad. Small, sure. Old, definitely. But it was clean. It was safe. It was ours. Or at least I thought it was ours. This place isn't a dump, I said quietly, trying to defend our home. It's not fancy, but it's embarrassing, Daniel. Jessica came over last week, and I saw the way she looked at it. The way she looked at our secondhand furniture and our laminate countertops and our bathroom with the tile missing. She felt sorry for me. Maybe Jessica needs to worry less about other people's homes. Or maybe my husband needs to worry more about providing a home worth having. I drained the pasta in silence, plated it, added sauce, carried it to our tiny table that wobbled unless you put a folded napkin under one leg. We ate in silence. I could feel her judgment with every bite. Nothing. That word became her favorite over the next few years. Each time she used it, it carved out a little more of who I was. When I suggested starting a side business, maybe lawn care or handyman work, something to bring in extra money, she shut it down immediately. "Who's going to hire you for that?" she said, not even looking up from her phone. "You don't have experience. You don't have tools. You just fail and waste our money. Money we don't have to waste." When I brought up taking classes to learn new skills, trade certifications, or business courses, she rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might stick. More debt for what? A certificate that won't change anything? Daniel, you're never going to amount to anything if you keep dreaming small. Small dreams, small actions, small life. When I came home excited about a small raise, $800 a year, which felt significant to me, she barely looked up from her laptop where she was stalking her friends' vacation photos. "Wow, $800 whole dollars. We're rich now. Better start looking at yachts." Her voice dripped with sarcasm so thick I could taste it. But the worst moments came during social gatherings when there was an audience for her cruelty. At her friend Jessica's dinner party, one of many events I dreaded, someone asked what I did for work. Before I could answer, Michelle jumped in. "He works at Dick's Sporting Goods," she said, pronouncing it like she was identifying my disease. "Has for years now. Same job. But hey, at least it's stable, right? Stable and suffocating and completely devoid of ambition, but stable." She laughed, and her friends laughed too. That polite, uncomfortable laughter that says everyone knows the joke is cruel, but no one wants to be the outsider who defends the victim. "Retail can be a good career path," Jessica's husband Tom offered, trying to be kind. He looked uncomfortable, like he wished he could teleport out of the room. "Can be," Michelle agreed, taking a long sip of wine. "But Daniel's not really climbing any ladders. He's more of a maintainer. He maintains his position, doesn't go up, doesn't go down, just exists, like a plant. A very boring, low-maintenance plant." I excused myself to the bathroom and sat on the edge of the tub for 10 minutes, trying to remember why I'd thought marriage was a good idea. Trying to remember if she'd always been like this or if something had changed. Trying to figure out if I was the problem or if she was. Trying to breathe through the shame. At home, the criticism was constant and creative, like she'd taken a masterclass in emotional warfare. "Why do we never go anywhere?" she'd complain, usually late at night when I was already exhausted from a long shift. Jessica went to Cancun last month. Sarah goes to New York every year. Beth and her husband just got back from Iceland. Iceland, Daniel, we haven't left the state in 3 years. "We went to the lake last summer." The lake. She said it like I'd suggested we vacation at a landfill. We went camping at a state park. We slept in a tent that leaked. We ate hot dogs from a cooler. That's not a vacation. That's what poor people do when they can't afford real vacations. We're not poor. We're not rich. And we never will be if you don't get some goddamn ambition. Do you know what Jessica's husband makes? Do you know what Sarah's husband makes? They're younger than you, Daniel. Younger, smarter, more successful, more everything. I tried. God, I tried. I applied for management positions at other stores. I interviewed for sales jobs that promised commission-based income. I even looked into franchise opportunities, though they required capital we didn't have and would never have at the rate I was saving. Nothing worked. Or nothing worked fast enough for her standards. The turning point came when I lost my job. The store was downsizing. Corporate decision made in some boardroom by people who'd never stepped foot in our location. They let go of 15 people, including me. I'd been there 4 years, had good performance reviews, had done nothing wrong. It didn't matter. Last hired, first fired, or whatever the logic was that suits used to justify destroying lives. I came home at 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. Michelle was working from home. She did social media management for a local real estate company, a job that let her make her own hours and feel superior to my 9-to-5 retail grind, as she called it. "Why are you home?" she asked, not looking up from her laptop where she was crafting the perfect Instagram caption for someone's open house. "I got laid off." Now she looked up. Her face went through several emotions in rapid succession: surprise, anger, disgust, resignation. "What?" "Corporate downsizing. They let a bunch of us go. It's not performance-based." "Jesus Christ, Daniel." She closed her laptop slowly, deliberately. "You got fired?" "Laid off. There's a difference." "Not to me, there isn't. Not when we have rent due in 2 weeks. Not when we have car payments and insurance and bills and a life that requires money. And you got fired. I'll find something else. I'll file for unemployment in the meantime. I'll start applying." "Unemployment." She stood up, started pacing like a caged animal. "This is perfect. This is exactly what I've been talking about for years. You have no backup plan. No savings worth mentioning, no prospects, no network, no value. You're useless, Daniel. Completely useless." The word hit me like a physical blow, like she'd reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until it stopped. "I'm not useless. This wasn't my fault. You've been there 4 years, and they picked you to let go. That says something, Daniel. That says you weren't valuable enough to keep. That says you were expendable, forgettable, worthless. They let go 15 people. And you were one of them. You." She grabbed her purse and keys, movement sharp and angry. "I can't do this right now. I need to think." "Where are you going?" "Anywhere but here. Anywhere that doesn't remind me that I married someone who can't even keep a job at a sporting goods store." She left. I heard her car start, heard her pull out of the parking lot too fast, tires squealing. I heard the silence that filled the apartment after she was gone, thick and suffocating and full of all the things I should have said but didn't. I sat on our couch, a second-hand sectional we'd bought off Craigslist our first year of marriage when we were still pretending we loved each other, and tried to figure out where everything had gone wrong. Tried to identify the exact moment my marriage had turned into a daily reminder of my inadequacy. That night, she came back late. After midnight. I was still on the couch, laptop open, job sites pulled up, applications half filled with information that felt increasingly meaningless. "I need to tell you something," she said, standing in the doorway like she was afraid to come any closer. I looked up. Her face was cold, determined, already gone even though she was still standing there. "What?" "I met someone." The words came out flat, rehearsed. "A few months ago. His name is Brandon. He owns a marketing agency. He's successful. He's ambitious. He's what I need." The words didn't register at first. I heard them, but they didn't make sense, like someone had spoken in a foreign language. "You're having an affair?" My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else in some other apartment having some other nightmare. "I wouldn't call it that. We've just been talking, spending time together. But yes, we've gotten close, very close, and I think—" She paused, searching for words, or maybe just searching for the kindness to say them gently. She didn't find it. "I think I should have married someone successful, someone with ambition, someone with a future, someone who isn't this." This," I repeated the word. "You mean me. I mean someone useless, someone who can't provide, someone who can't even keep a retail job, someone who's going to be stuck in unemployment or dead-end situations forever. You're never going to be enough, Daniel. I see that now." I should have been angry, should have yelled, thrown something, defended myself, should have called her every name I was thinking, but I just felt numb, hollow, like she'd scooped out everything inside me and left just the shell. "So what now?" I asked quietly. "I'm filing for divorce. I've already talked to a lawyer. Brandon thinks it's the right move. A clean break." Brandon thinks. I think. I'm done, Daniel. I'm done living like this. I'm done pretending this is going to get better. I'm done waiting for you to become someone you're never going to be. She went to the bedroom. I heard drawers opening, heard her packing, heard my life ending one piece of clothing at a time. I sat there until morning, watching the sun come up through our cheap blinds, wondering how my life had fallen apart in 24 hours, wondering who I'd been before all this, and if that person still existed somewhere. Chapter 2. Rock Bottom. The divorce was fast, brutal, clinical, like having surgery without anesthesia while the surgeon explains exactly how they're cutting you apart. Michelle got the apartment. Her name was on the lease first. I got the car, a 2009 Honda Civic with 140,000 miles and a check engine light that had been on for 6 months. It burned oil, made concerning noises on the highway, and the air conditioning only worked when it felt like it. We split what little savings we had, $1,700 total. I got $850. She got the rest plus everything else that mattered. She got the furniture, the TV, the kitchen stuff, the decorations, everything we'd accumulated together during 3 years of marriage. I got a box of my clothes, my laptop, and the camping gear she didn't want anymore. You can have the air mattress, too, she said, her voice flat, emotionless, like she was listing inventory. Since you love camping so much, since you think sleeping on the ground is an acceptable vacation. I moved into a rented room in a house near the industrial district, $350 a month for a 10 by 10 room with a window that didn't close properly and let in every sound from the street below. The house had 4 other tenants, all younger than me, all temporary, all stuck in their own versions of barely making it. My room had beige walls, stained carpet that I didn't want to think too hard about, and a single overhead light with a pull chain. I set up the air mattress in the corner, unpacked my box of clothes into a pile against the wall since there was no dresser, no furniture at all except what I'd brought. Set my laptop on the floor next to an outlet. This was it. This was my life now. I was 27 years old, divorced, unemployed, and living in a room that cost more per square foot than a storage unit and was roughly as appealing. I filed for unemployment, started applying to jobs, any jobs, all jobs, retail, warehouse work, delivery driving, anything that would pay, anything that would prove I wasn't useless, that Michelle had been wrong. Days blurred together into a fog of rejection. Wake up, apply for jobs, get rejected or ignored, eat ramen or cheap sandwiches, apply for more jobs, stare at the water-stained ceiling, sleep fitfully, repeat. My unemployment check was $240 a week. After rent, I had barely enough for food and gas. My phone bill went unpaid, my car insurance lapsed, and I drove anyway because I had no choice. I stopped answering calls from collection agencies because I had nothing to give them, and they had nothing but shame to give me. One evening, 2 weeks into this new life, I opened the mini fridge I'd bought at Goodwill for $20, the cheapest one they had, dented and yellowed with age. Empty. Completely empty. Not even condiments. Not even the expired ketchup packets from fast food places. Nothing. I checked my bank account on my phone, dreading what I'd see. $47. Rent wasn't due for another week, but when it was, I'd be down to negative $303. I sat on the floor of my room, back against the wall, and felt something break open inside me. Not despair, not anymore. I'd been despairing for weeks, drowning in it, letting it fill my lungs. This was different. This was anger. Pure, clean, focused anger that burned away the fog. I was done. Done being the person Michelle said I was. Done being useless. Done accepting failure as inevitable. Done letting circumstances control me. Done letting her voice in my head tell me I'd never amount to anything. I refuse to live like this anymore, I said out loud to my empty room. The words hung in the air, vibrating with intention. Then I grabbed my laptop, opened it, and started searching. How to start a business with no money. Small business ideas. Side hustles that actually pay. I read for 3 hours straight, took notes on a spiral notebook I'd found in my box of stuff, made lists, researched until my eyes burned and my laptop battery died. By the time I fell asleep that night, something had changed. I didn't have a plan yet. Not a complete one, not something polished and perfect. But I had direction. I had purpose. I had decided to fight back. Chapter 3. The beginning. I started with what I had. A body that could work, hands that could learn, and a desperate need to prove everyone, especially myself, wrong. I created a Craigslist ad. Handyman services. No job too small, reasonable rates. Call Daniel. I added my phone number and hit post before I could second-guess myself. I had no real handyman experience beyond basic home repairs I'd learned from YouTube when our apartment's landlord refused to fix things. But I could learn. I would learn. I had to. The first call came 3 days later. 3 days of checking my phone every 5 minutes, wondering if I'd made a mistake, if this was another failure waiting to happen. Yeah, hi. I saw your ad on Craigslist. I need someone to fix a fence in my backyard. Can you do that? Could I fix a fence? I had no idea, but I said, absolutely. When would you like me to come take a look? His name was Tom. He lived in a neighborhood 20 minutes away. Actual houses with yards, not apartments. The fence was old, leaning precariously, with several broken boards and posts that were rotting at the base. I walked around it, pretending I knew what I was looking at, taking measurements, nodding thoughtfully like a professional. What do you think? Tom asked. I can fix it. Need to replace these boards here, reinforce these posts, probably treat it for weather resistance. I'd say about 6 hours of work. How much? I did quick math in my head. Materials would be maybe $40. My time? What was my time worth? Nothing, according to Michelle. Everything, according to my growling stomach. $80, I said. Too low, probably. But I needed the work. You sure? Tom looked skeptical. That seems cheap. My neighbor paid $200 for something similar. I'm just starting out, building a customer base. If you're happy with the work, I'd appreciate a referral. He hired me on the spot. I spent 6 hours on that fence, watched 3 YouTube tutorials while I worked, my phone propped on a toolbox I'd borrowed from one of my roommates, screwed up twice and had to redo sections. By the end, my hands were blistered, my back was screaming, and I'd spent $40 on materials from Home Depot that I put on a credit card I couldn't afford to use. But the fence was fixed. Straight, solid, better than it had been. Tom looked at it, walked along its length, gave it a few test shakes. Not bad, he said, pulling out his wallet. You do gutter cleaning? I do now. He handed me $80 in cash, 4 $20 bills that felt like a fortune. He hired me for 2 more jobs that month, gave my number to his neighbor. The neighbor hired me to pressure wash his driveway. I bought a used pressure washer off Facebook Marketplace for $120. Money I didn't have but couldn't afford not to spend. Spent another afternoon learning how to use it without destroying someone's property or injuring myself. The work was hard. Manual labor in the Texas heat, often alone, always uncertain if the next call would come. My body ached in ways I didn't know were possible. My hands developed calluses. My back hurt constantly. But it was mine, my work, my business, my proof that I wasn't useless. I worked early mornings before the heat got unbearable. Evenings after the sun went down, weekends, holidays. Anytime someone needed something done, I was available. I had to be. My Craigslist ad expanded. Handyman services, fence repair, pressure washing, gutter cleaning, lawn care, small home repairs, painting, no job too small. I made business cards at FedEx office. 250 cards for $20 I couldn't spare. Simple design, just my name and number and services. Handed them out everywhere. Left them at coffee shops, hardware stores, grocery store bulletin boards, anywhere that had a community board. Most got thrown away. Some got coffee spilled on them. A few got phone numbers written on the back by people treating them as scrap paper. But some didn't. Some ended up in pockets and wallets and on refrigerators. A woman named Patricia called about fixing her deck railing. My husband used to do this stuff, she said, her voice tired and sad. But he passed last year, cancer. I don't know who to call for things like this anymore. I fixed her railing for $60. It took me 2 hours. She paid me $100 and told me to keep the change. You remind me of him, she said, her eyes watery. Hardworking, honest, patient. That's rare these days. Most people just want to take advantage. I nearly cried in my car after I left, sitting in her driveway, hands shaking, realizing that someone saw value in me, that someone appreciated what I did. The jobs came slowly at first. 1 a week, then 2, then 3. Each one felt like a small victory, proof that I could do this. I learned as I went, watched videos, read articles, asked advice at hardware stores from the guys who'd been doing this for decades, who looked at me with recognition. They'd been where I was once. You doing this full time? One old-timer asked me at Home Depot while I was trying to figure out which screws I needed. Trying to? I said. Best advice I can give you. Show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, and charge fairly. Do that, and people will hire you again. Word of mouth is everything in this business. It's the only marketing that matters. I took that advice to heart, made it my religion. I was never late, not once. If I said I'd be there at 8 a.m., I was there at 7:45, sitting in my car, waiting. I did what I promised. If I said the job would take 3 hours, I made sure it was done right, even if it took 4, even if it cost me money, and I charged fairly. Not the cheapest. I learned that lesson after a few jobs where I undervalued myself into exhaustion. Not the most expensive, just fair. 6 months in, I had repeat customers. People who called me specifically when they needed work done. People who saved my number. People who recommended me. Hey Daniel, it's Tom. Got another project if you're interested. My neighbor 2 doors down needs his fence painted. Daniel, this is Patricia. My friend needs her gutters cleaned. Can I give her your number? Daniel, this is Marcus. You fixed my fence last month. I need help with my sprinkler system. It's leaking everywhere. Each call felt like validation, like proof, like Michelle had been wrong. I saved every cent I could. No eating out, no entertainment, no new clothes unless my old ones literally fell apart, no luxuries, no comfort, just survival and saving. I lived on rice, beans, eggs, and cheap protein. Chicken thighs when they were on sale, ground beef when I could afford it. Cooked everything in my room on a hot plate I bought at a thrift store for $8. My roommates thought I was crazy. "Dude, it's Friday night. Come out with us," said Jake, one of the younger guys who worked at a call center. "We're hitting up that new bar downtown." "Can't. Early job tomorrow." "It's always an early job with you. You ever relax? You ever just live?" "Can't afford to. Not yet." He shook his head, looking at me like I was some kind of alien species. "Man, that's depressing. You're like a robot." Maybe I was, but robots don't starve. Robots don't fail. Robots get the job done. 8 months in, I had $3,000 saved, the most money I'd ever had at once. More than Michelle and I ever had in our joint account. I opened a proper business checking account, got business insurance, liability coverage in case something went wrong, registered my business officially with the state, Carter Home Services. It felt real then, legitimate. Not just some desperate guy on Craigslist, but an actual business owner. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was building something. Chapter 4. Momentum. Year 1 was survival. Year 2 was growth. By the end of my first year, I was getting enough jobs that I quit collecting unemployment. I didn't need it anymore. The relief of not having to report my earnings, not having to prove I was looking for real jobs, was immense. I was making about $1,500 a month. Not enough to move out of my rented room yet, not comfortably, but enough to breathe, enough to pay my bills on time, enough to keep saving aggressively. I reinvested profits into better tools, a professional-grade pressure washer that didn't break down every third job, a truck toolbox so I could organize instead of digging through a pile of equipment, better ladders that didn't feel like death traps, a leaf blower, small things that made the work easier, faster, better. I created a Facebook page for my business, posted before and after photos of jobs, asked satisfied customers to leave reviews, offering a small discount on future work if they did. The reviews started coming in, slowly at first, then steadily. Daniel did an amazing job on our deck. Professional, affordable, and friendly. Would definitely hire again. Highly recommend Carter Home Services. He fixed our fence and it looks brand new. Showed up on time and finished early. Called Daniel for a last-minute gutter cleaning before a storm. He came same day and did great work. True professional. Each review brought more calls. People found me on Facebook now, not just Craigslist. More legitimate, more trustworthy. I started getting referrals from past customers, then referrals from those referrals. The work snowballed, each job leading to 2 more, then 3 more. I raised my rates slightly, not dramatically. I didn't want to price myself out, just enough to reflect that I knew what I was doing now, that I wasn't the desperate guy from Craigslist anymore, but a professional with a track record. People paid without complaint. Some even told me I was still too cheap. 15 months in, I was making $2,000 a month, then $2,500, then $3,000. For the first time since the divorce, I felt something other than survival mode. I felt hope, real, tangible hope that this might actually work long term. I paid off my credit card debt, $2,200 that had been hanging over me like a storm cloud since the divorce. Seeing that balance hit zero, getting the notification that my account was paid in full, felt better than anything I'd felt in years. I fixed my credit, started building it back up with a secured credit card that I paid off in full every single month, treating it like it was made of gold. I opened a savings account specifically for a house down payment. Started putting $300 a month into it, then $400, then $5. I wasn't rich, I wasn't even comfortable yet by most standards, but I was climbing. Each month was better than the last, and I was doing it alone, on my terms, with no one telling me I couldn't, with no one comparing me to other people's success, just me and the work. I ran into Michelle's friend Jessica at a grocery store one afternoon. I was buying supplies, the cheap kind, still watching every dollar, and she was loading expensive wine into her cart. "Daniel? Oh my God, hi." She looked genuinely surprised to see me, probably surprised I was still alive, still functioning. "Hey Jessica, how are you?" "Good. Great, actually. I heard about you and Michelle. I'm so sorry." She said it with that tone people use when they're not really sorry, just socially obligated to say so. "It's fine. I'm doing okay." "What are you up to these days?" "I started my own business, handyman stuff, home services." "Oh." She looked uncertain, like she wasn't sure if that was good or bad, like she was trying to figure out if it was a step up or a step down from retail. "That's That's great. Good for you. Really. Thanks. How's Michelle? I don't know why I asked. Curiosity, masochism, some sick need to know if she was happy, some pathetic hope that she wasn't. She's, she's okay. She and Brandon are still together. Good for her. Yeah. Awkward pause while Jessica tried to figure out how to escape this conversation. Well, I should get going. Good to see you. I watched her leave, loading groceries into a Mercedes SUV that probably cost more than I'd make all year. Her life hadn't changed. Mine had completely imploded and was slowly being rebuilt from the ashes. But I wasn't jealous. I wasn't bitter. I was just different now. I'd been forged in the fire of rock bottom. I knew what I was capable of now, and that knowledge was worth more than a Mercedes. 18 months in, I hit a milestone that made me pull over and sit in my car to process. $5,000 in 1 month. $5,000. More than I'd ever made in a month at the sporting goods store. More than I'd ever imagined making on my own. More than Michelle said I'd ever be worth. I sat in the bank parking lot after depositing the check, staring at the receipt, making sure the numbers were real, that I hadn't misread them, that this wasn't some kind of mistake. They were real. I'd done it. I was doing it. I upgraded from my tiny room to a small one-bedroom apartment. Nothing fancy. But it had a real kitchen, a real bathroom with a door that closed, and space to breathe, space to think, space to exist as a human being instead of just a survivor. I bought a used couch from someone on Facebook Marketplace, a table from IKEA, a bed frame instead of sleeping on an air mattress. Basic things, but they were mine. Chosen by me, paid for by me. For the first time in 2 years, I felt like a person again. Not just someone surviving, but someone living. Someone with a present and maybe even a future. I started researching houses. Nothing serious yet. I wasn't ready. Just looking, dreaming, letting myself believe it might be possible someday. But the dreams felt possible now. Reachable. Not like before when they were just fantasies to escape into. I'd proven Michelle wrong. I'd proven everyone wrong. But most importantly, I'd proven myself right. I wasn't useless. I wasn't destined for failure. I was capable of more than anyone, including myself, had ever believed. Chapter 5. The breakthrough month 22 was when everything clicked into place. I'd built a reliable client base. I had regulars who called me monthly for maintenance work, seasonal customers who needed spring cleanup or winter preparations, people who saved my number and told their friends about me. I was making $6,000 a month, consistently. Not just one good month followed by 3 bad ones, but steady income I could count on. $6,000. In 2 years, I'd gone from unemployed and broken to earning more than I'd ever earned in my life. More than Michelle said I'd ever earn, more than I'd dreamed was possible. I hired my first employee, a kid named Ryan, who needed work and was willing to learn. I found him through a Facebook post in a local jobs group. He was 19, had dropped out of college, was living with his parents, and desperate for a chance. I saw myself in him. I paid him $15 an hour, more than I'd made at the sporting goods store, and taught him everything I knew. "Why are you doing this?" he asked one afternoon while we were cleaning gutters on a 3-story house. "Doing what?" "Hiring me, sharing your clients, teaching me your business. You could keep all the money yourself." "I can't do everything alone anymore. The work is there. I'm turning down jobs because I don't have enough hours in the day. And honestly, teaching you reminds me why I started. Someone believed in me when I had nothing. Now I'm believing in you." He nodded, serious. "I won't let you down, man. I swear." He didn't. Ryan was reliable, hardworking, eager to learn. He showed up on time, did what I taught him, treated customers with respect. He took pressure off me, let me take on more jobs, let me focus on growing the business instead of just maintaining it. I started looking at houses seriously, not just dreaming, but actually looking. Real estate websites, driving through neighborhoods on Sundays, talking to lenders about pre-approval. With my rebuilt credit and consistent income and 2 years of tax returns showing steady growth, I qualified for a loan. Not a huge one. Banks still saw me as risky, a self-employed guy without the safety net of a traditional job. But enough. Enough for a modest house. Enough for my own place. Enough to prove I'd made it. I found a house I loved, a small 3-bedroom ranch in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy. Built in the 70s, needed updates. The yard was overgrown, needed serious landscaping work. The deck was rotting, would need to be rebuilt. The fence was leaning worse than Tom's had been. Perfect. I could fix all of it. I knew how now, and fixing it would make it truly mine. I made an offer, lowballed it slightly because I knew what the repairs would cost, expected them to counter. They accepted immediately. The house had been on the market for 3 months. They were motivated sellers. The closing date was set for 3 weeks away. 21 days until I became a homeowner. 21 days until I proved everyone wrong. I could barely sleep. Lay in my apartment at night, staring at the ceiling, imagining what it would feel like to sign those papers, to hold those keys, to own something real and permanent. The night before the closing, I packed my things in my apartment. Not much to pack. I still lived simply, still saved aggressively. But each item represented a step forward from that rented room with the air mattress. My phone buzzed. A text from Tom, my first client. Tom, hey man, congrats on the house. Jessica mentioned she ran into you and you were doing really well. Really proud of what you've built. You deserve every bit of it. I smiled, set the phone down, kept packing. I'd invited no one to the closing. This was mine, my moment, my victory. Just me and Rebecca, the real estate agent, and a stack of papers that would change my life. I fell asleep that night with an excitement I hadn't felt since before my marriage fell apart, since before Michelle told me I was useless. Tomorrow, everything would be official. Tomorrow, I would sign the papers. Tomorrow, I would prove, once and for all, that I'd won. Chapter 6. Her Collapse. I didn't follow Michelle's life after the divorce. Didn't check her social media. I'd blocked her on everything the day the papers were finalized. Didn't ask mutual friends about her. Didn't Google her name late at night when I was weak. I'd cut that cord completely, and I was better for it. But information has a way of finding you, especially in a small city where everyone knows everyone. 3 months before I found the house, I ran into Marcus at Home Depot. Marcus had been friends with both of us during the marriage, one of the few people who stayed neutral after the split, who didn't take sides or gossip. Daniel, man, long time. He looked genuinely happy to see me, which was refreshing. Hey Marcus, how are you? Good, good. You? Really good, actually. Business is going well, can't complain. I heard. Tom mentioned you fixed his fence, said you did great work. I've been meaning to call you, actually. I need some help with my garage door. We chatted about work, about life, about his garage door that wouldn't close properly. Then, as we were parting ways, he said casually, "Oh, Michelle asked about you a few months ago." I stopped. She did? Yeah. We ran into each other at a coffee shop. She seemed, I don't know, different, tired maybe. Asked how you were doing. What did you tell her? The truth, that you were doing well, working for yourself, building a business. Seemed happy? He shrugged. She didn't say much after that, just kind of nodded and changed the subject. Huh. For what it's worth, I don't think things worked out the way she expected with Brandon. I've heard through the grapevine that it's been rough. I didn't ask for details, didn't want them. Well, I hope she figures things out. You're a better person than me, Marcus said, shaking his head. After how she treated you, I'd be less forgiving. I'm not forgiving. I'm just done. There's a difference. He nodded, understanding. Fair enough. Good seeing you, man. I'll text you about that garage door. I didn't think much about that conversation at the time. Filed it away as meaningless information, gossip I didn't need. But over the next few weeks, I noticed things. Michelle sent me a friend request on Facebook. I'd unblocked her at some point, though I didn't remember doing it. Maybe it had been an accident. The request sat there for days before I declined it. She liked an old photo of mine from 3 years ago, a random landscape shot I'd posted before we even got divorced, a sunset at that lake she'd complained about. Strange, deliberate. Then, a week before my closing date, she texted me. My number hadn't changed. Michelle, hey Daniel, hope you're well. I stared at the message for a full minute, sitting in my truck between jobs, the first contact in almost 2 years, the first words from her since the day she'd handed me divorce papers and told me I'd never amount to anything. I didn't respond. Locked my phone. Went back to work. 2 days later, Michelle. I know this is random, but I've been thinking about you lately. Would love to catch up if you're open to it. Still didn't respond. The temptation was there, to ask why, to tell her off, to engage. But engagement meant she still mattered. And she didn't. The day before my closing, Michelle, I heard you're doing really well. I'm happy for you. I know things ended badly between us, but I'd really like to talk. I showed the messages to Ryan while we were loading tools into my truck after a job. Dude, she's totally trying to get back with you, he said, reading over my shoulder. I know. What are you going to do? Nothing. I'm closing on my house tomorrow. That's what I'm focused on. You're not even curious what she wants. I know what she wants. She wants security. She wants someone who's successful now that I am. But she didn't want me when I wasn't. She didn't want me when I needed someone to believe in me. That's cold, man. That's reality. That's clarity. That night, lying in my apartment for the last time before becoming a homeowner, I got 2 more messages. Michelle, I made mistakes. I know that. I was wrong about a lot of things. Wrong about you, Michelle. You were always a good person. Hardworking, honest. I should have seen that. I should have appreciated it. I locked my phone without responding, turned it face down on my nightstand, closed my eyes. Tomorrow was about me. Not her, not the past, not vindication or revenge or proving anything to anyone except myself. Just me and the future I'd built with my own hands. Chapter 7. The Signature. The real estate office smells like fresh coffee and printer toner. Generic landscape photos hang on beige walls. Mountains I've never seen, beaches I've never been to, forests that exist nowhere near here. A clock ticks somewhere behind me, each second marking the distance between who I was and who I'm becoming. Everything feels surreal, like I'm watching myself from outside my body. Like this is happening to someone else and I'm just observing. So, Mr. Carter, if you'll just sign here, and initial here. Rebecca, the real estate agent, slides papers across the glossy table. Her nails are painted coral. Her smile is professional, warm, practiced from doing this hundreds of times. She has no idea what this moment means to me, how many times I almost gave up, how close I came to believing Michelle was right. My phone vibrates on the table. The screen lights up. Michelle. Hey. I've been thinking about us. Can we talk? I stare at the message for 3 seconds. 2 years of rebuilding myself from nothing. 2 years of proving everyone wrong. 2 years of becoming someone I'm proud of. And she texts me now. This exact moment. As if she can sense somehow that I'm about to cross a finish line she said I'd never reach. Another message appears. Michelle, I miss what we had. Rebecca clears her throat gently, pulling me back to the present. Everything okay? I look up at her, then back down at the contract spread before me. The house, my house. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a backyard with an oak tree that needs trimming, a driveway with cracks I can fix, a deck I can rebuild, a fence I can repair. Nothing fancy, nothing that would impress Michelle's friends, but it's mine. Earned with my own hands, my own sweat, my own refusal to accept her verdict on my worth. What we had? We didn't have anything. She had contempt. I had shame. That's not a relationship worth missing. I smile. Not a bitter smile, not a vengeful one. Just satisfied, peaceful, complete. Everything's perfect, I say. I pick up the pen. It's heavier than it should be, weighted with meaning, turn my phone face down on the table, and sign my name on the dotted line. Daniel Carter, homeowner, business owner, free man. The pen scratches across the paper, each letter of my name a declaration of independence. My phone vibrates again, and again, messages piling up. I don't look. Rebecca slides another paper over. I sign, another, I initial, another. I sign again, each signature feeling like a step further from who I was. Each page turned a door closed on the past. With each signature, I feel lighter. With each page, I leave more behind. The shame, the inadequacy, the voice in my head that sounded like Michelle telling me I'd never be enough. Congratulations, Rebecca finally says, extending her hand across the table. Her smile is genuine now, not just professional. Welcome home, Mr. Carter. I shake her hand, and her words hit me harder than I expected. Welcome home. I have a home, a place that's mine, a place no one can take from me. Thank you, I say, and I mean it, for everything, for this moment, for all the moments that led me here, for the fire that forged me. She hands me the keys. They're small, ordinary keys on a plain ring, nothing special about them, but they feel like winning a war. The house is officially yours as of right now, she says, gathering papers into a folder. You can move in whenever you're ready. I'm ready, I say. I've been ready for 2 years. I walk out of the office into bright afternoon sunlight that feels symbolic somehow. My phone is buzzing in my pocket like an angry wasp. Multiple messages now. I pull it out, standing in the parking lot. Michelle. Please, Daniel. Just give me a chance to explain. Michelle. I know I hurt you, but I've changed. I see things differently now. Michelle, things didn't work out with Brandon. I realize that now. I realize what I had with you. Michelle, you were always the better man. I was just too blind to see it, too stupid, too focused on the wrong things. Michelle, please talk to me. We can start over. We can do it right this time. I stand in the parking lot, keys in one hand, phone in the other, reading messages from a woman who threw me away when I wasn't good enough and now wants me back because I am. She's right about one thing. She was blind. But being right doesn't earn her back into my life. I could respond, could tell her off, could explain exactly what she put me through and how I rebuilt myself piece by piece without her. Could list every time she made me feel worthless, could make her feel the way she made me feel, but that would mean she still had power over me, that her opinion still mattered, that I needed her to understand, to acknowledge, to apologize properly. I don't. I open the message thread, scroll to the top where it shows when we first started texting years ago, and block her number. No final message, no explanation, no closure, just silence. Then I get in my truck, my paid-off truck that I bought with money I earned from work I built from nothing, and drive to my house. My house. I pull into the driveway and just sit there for a minute, looking at it through the windshield. It's not perfect. The paint is a little faded, that pale yellow color from the 70s. The landscaping is overgrown, bushes that need trimming and flower beds choked with weeds. The driveway has cracks running through it like lightning, but it's mine, all mine. No one can take it from me. No one can tell me I didn't earn it. No one can say I'm not good enough for it. I unlock the front door, the lock sticks a little, another thing to fix, and step inside. Empty rooms, echoing footsteps, afternoon light streaming through dusty windows that need cleaning. Perfect. I walk through each room slowly, not rushing, taking it in. The living room where I'll put a couch eventually, where Ryan and I will watch football games and plan next week's jobs. The kitchen where I'll cook meals, simple ones at first, but maybe someday for someone who actually appreciates them. The bedrooms where someday maybe I'll build a life with someone who actually values me, who sees me. I end up in the backyard, sitting on the deck that needs serious repairs, looking at the oak tree that needs trimming, feeling more at peace than I've felt in years. Maybe ever. My phone buzzes. I'd forgotten it was still in my pocket. It's not Michelle. I blocked her. It's Ryan. Ryan. Boss. Congrats on the house. Want me to come over this weekend? We could start on that deck. I'll bring my tools. I smile. Real. Genuine. Me. That'd be great. Pizza on me. Ryan. Hell yeah. You earned this, man. Seriously proud of you. Proud of me. From a kid I hired 6 months ago who barely knew which end of a hammer to hold, who I taught everything I know. But he sees it. He sees what this means. He sees the journey even though he wasn't there for most of it. I lean back against the deck railing, carefully since it wobbles, feeling the sun on my face, and think about the journey here, from that empty fridge in my rented room to this deck on my property, from useless to successful, from broken to whole, from Michelle's verdict to my own truth. She was wrong. About everything. I wasn't useless. I wasn't destined for failure. I wasn't someone who would never amount to anything. I was just someone who needed to be torn down completely before I could build myself back up stronger. Someone who needed to lose everything to find out what I was really made of. And I did. Without her. Without anyone telling me I could. Without permission or validation or belief from anyone except myself. I just decided I would, and I did. The house feels different now. Transformed not just in appearance, but in spirit. It carries my work in its walls, my effort in every corner. Ryan and I rebuilt the deck over 3 weekends, replacing rotted boards and sealing everything so it finally feels sturdy and safe. I trimmed the oak tree myself, learning as I went, clearing dead branches and letting sunlight back into the yard. I reinforced the leaning fence, stained it cedar, and repainted the living areas from dull beige to warm grays. Little by little, the house has become mine, something I built, something I earned. Business is thriving. We're booked out weeks in advance, and I've hired 2 more people. Maria, who handles customers better than I ever did, and Jake, who works hard and learns fast. We turn down jobs now, so we never sacrifice quality. For the first time in my life, money isn't a constant fear in the back of my mind. I'm doing better than Michelle ever said I could. But the money isn't what matters most. The peace is. I sleep deeply. I wake up excited for work. I look in the mirror and actually like the man staring back. I survived everything and rebuilt from the ground up. I ran into Jessica last week. She hugged me, surprised by how different I seemed. You look lighter, she said. Then she told me Michelle had been asking about me. Her relationship collapsed. He'd cheated on her the whole time. She lost her job and now works retail. I didn't feel satisfaction or pity, just distance. I told Jessica I didn't wish Michelle anything bad. I simply didn't wish to be involved at all. Jessica apologized for laughing at Michelle's jokes back then, for staying silent. It meant more to me than I expected. We talked honestly for once, then went our separate ways, her to her life, me to mine. Later, I sat on the new deck with my team, grilling, drinking beer, talking about the future. They joked about expanding, franchising even. Maybe someday, but I like the personal work. I like caring about every job. This, good people, good work, good days, feels like real success. This morning I woke to sunlight, made coffee, and watched the sunrise on the deck. A new client texted, referred by someone who trusts me. My business grows because of honesty, not shortcuts. Michelle stopped messaging weeks ago. Maybe she finally understood that the version of me she knew doesn't exist anymore. Sometimes I think about running into her again. I imagine being polite, wishing her well, and then going home to the life I built without her. Because the truth is, revenge isn't about hurting someone. It's about becoming someone they no longer have access to. Someone whose happiness doesn't depend on their validation. I have my house, my business, my peace, my purpose. That isn't revenge. That's just winning. And sometimes the best revenge is proving you always had the potential they never saw.